First off, if you're new to the channel, welcome. My name's Avatar, and today we've got a crazy Void Titan build that is literally doing way too much damage. Bungie recently buffed roaming supers, increasing their recharge rate by 3 times and giving them an additional 30 to 55% damage increase against champions. But it looks like they might have accidentally broken something too, so we're going to take full advantage of this while we can. Like I said in today's video, we're breaking down this pure Void Titan build that's making some serious waves. And even if Bungie fixes this potential bug, don't worry. This build is super flexible and can be adapted to different supers or even prismatic setups. We'll have tons of ways to deal massive DPS as well as create orbs for you and your fire team. Alright, let's dive into the breakdown starting with the super. Of course, we're using Sentinel Shield being part of the roaming super buff. It now charges insanely fast, but here's where it gets wild. Its damage against champions was meant to be a specific buff, but it seems like that buff got applied to bosses as well. So if you pair it with a weakening debuff and Synthoceps, you've got one of the best DPS setups for in-game content. Now your Sentinel Shield has 3 main functions. To maximize the damage output, just focus on close range attacks. Titan stuff. Of course, you can throw the shield like Captain America if that's your thing, or you can use it to block and draw enemy fire. Blocking with the shield does boost weapon damage for your teammates who shoot through it, so not too bad on that end. But for this build, let's just stick to the Titan way. Hit things and hit hard. Next up, let's talk about melee and grenade. We're going to go with Shield Bash for our melee and Vortex Grenade for the grenade of choice, but honestly, they are interchangeable, so feel free to swap them out if you do prefer something different. Now for our aspects and fragments. The first aspect we are using is Controlled Demolition. This allows us to make enemies volatile when they're hit with a void ability, whether that's your grenade or your melee. Next, we have Bastion, which is fantastic for getting a full void overshield for 15 seconds, which pairs perfectly with the Echo of Persistence that increases that length, but also you're going to get an overshield when you pop your super. It's especially nice to have this when you're going in for those close range attacks with Sentinel Shield, so the added survivability is huge. Moving on to fragments, we're going with Echo of Leeching to regain health on melee kills, Echo of Starvation for Devour when picking up an Orb of Power or a Void Breach, and lastly is going to be the Echo of Instability, which gives your Void weapons volatile rounds when you get kills with your grenade. I chose these fragments mainly to maximize on survivability, but also synergy with the rest of the mods and the weapons in this build. Speaking of weapons, let's jump into that. The cool thing is, 2 or 3 of these weapons that we're going to be using are free right now at Banshee. The Multi-Mock and the Chill Inhibitor are part of the guns that Bungie added in to say sorry for the weight gate. So the Multi-Mock has kinetic tremors as well as attrition orbs. Attrition orbs is key because it generates orbs of power on sustained damage, but also kinetic tremors create shockwaves on sustained damage. So the weapon not only has great orb generation, but also crowd control, because kinetic tremor shockwaves will damage that target you're shooting, but also what's around them as well. Chill Inhibitor does come with Envious Arsenal and Bait and Switch, which was the god roll everyone was going for, or a Cascade Point if that's your thing. But for this gun, it synergizes beautifully. Envious Arsenal reloads your grenade launcher after dealing damage with other weapons. Bait and Switch is easy to proc. Just deal damage with both your primary and secondary weapons before you switch to the Chill Inhibitor. That's going to activate Bait and Switch for 10 seconds, giving you a 30% damage boost. And for the special weapon, we are using the Area Denial GL, the Velocity Baton, from Vesper's Host. I know it's hard to get, but trust me, it is worth it. It comes with Unrelenting and Attrition Orbs. If you can get this roll, it's utterly fantastic. And it's void, so it pairs perfectly with the build. With Attrition Orbs, of course, you're going to generate a ton of orbs, and Unrelenting, you will get health regen on kills. And you're going to take advantage of volatile rounds. So if you haven't gotten this roll, it is absolutely worth it. If you're still hunting for that roll or one similar, hit up our Discord. It's linked below. It's a great place to find people to farm with or run content together. Hell, even shoot me a message on there and I'll jump in and run some stuff with you. To further maximize orb generation, we're going to be using a kinetic siphon mod as well as a void siphon mod on our helmet, which will create orbs on multi-kills. So not only are we getting orb generation on attrition orbs, but also from the siphons as well. Next is going to be Ashes to Ashes, which will give us more super energy from our grenade kills. We're going to pair really well with the mods on our gauntlet. We've got heavy-handed, and firepower. Firepower and heavy-handed, they both generate orbs off of melee kills and grenade kills respectively. The last piece of orb generation does come from our class item mod, Reaper. That creates an orb on a weapon final blow following your barricade pop. On our legs, we're going to be using surge mods that mainly just pair with our heavy grenade launcher. 2 resistance mods. I like to throw Better Already on just for health regen as well. On the chest, it has resistance mods mainly just to match whatever activity that we're going into. And finally, the artifact. I like to throw on champion mods just to be safe. That way we're using anti-barrier because those ones are the most annoying to kill. So anti-barrier SMG, as well as concussive reloader to weaken enemies with our grenade launcher. Rapid impacts, which will speed up the reload of our grenade launcher. Supernova to create a void pulse when damaging a target after we pick up a void breach. Also, debilitating wave creates a damaging wave on finishers, which can weaken nearby targets. And don't forget Power from Pain, which grants Devour on rapid final blows against weakened targets. And if you pair it with a volatile tonic, you'll be able to generate void breaches upon defeating those weakened targets. So the synergy is fantastic. But there you have it, an incredibly simple yet insanely potent build with massive damage, fantastic synergy, and insane orb generation. But if you enjoyed the video, feel free to share it with a friend or give it a thumbs up. And if you're new to the channel, like I said at the beginning, welcome. Make sure to subscribe for more content like this in the future, but until then, I'll catch you all in the next one.